Same goes for Marco Verratti, who's been a bit in and out of the squad. But I don't see PSG separating with both Mbappe and Neymar. It would be a huge blow, and not just for PSG, but also for Liga 1 as well in terms of star power.
And just lastly, Jonathan, while we've got you away from PSG, a player that is attracting a lot of interest over here, there are reports that Manchester United are interested in Jean-Claire Todibo at Nice. Tell us a little bit about him. What kind of player is he? And could he leave this summer? Will he leave this summer?
He's a very interesting prospect. I mean, there's two very interesting names at Nice at this moment in time, Todibo being one, the other being Kefren Turam. Obviously, Nice don't have European football coming up for next season, so those sorts of players are of interest to a number of European clubs. And there have been European giants looking at the likes of Todibo at the moment, not just clubs from the Premier League like Manchester United, but also Italian giants Juventus have looked into his situation as well. Todibo was somebody who burst on the scene quite young with Toulouse. Sort of has bounced around since he moved to Barcelona, also spent a bit of time in the Bundesliga, but has sort of made a home for himself with Nice over the last couple of years, paired very well for a brief period of time with William Saliba, obviously at Arsenal now, and has got himself into the reckoning really to break into the French senior setup in the next couple of years. So it's no surprise that big clubs are sitting up and taking notice of Todibo, and I think given the fact that Nice don't have European football this coming season, it is a really good opportunity this summer to potentially get a player who is already, in my opinion, Premier League ready, but somebody who also has a bit more room to develop at a reasonable price, because if Nice were to requalify for Europe, somebody like Todibo I think would fetch a lot more than he could potentially be available for this summer.
Jonathan, brilliant to chat to you this morning. Some great insight. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll speak to you soon. Yeah, really good to hear from Jonathan over in Paris. Let's just chat a little bit about Neymar. Sam, you're a Neymar stan. You think he can still do it in Europe? For you, I suppose money aside, because Barcelona, that is certainly an issue for them, where should he end up?
I think it's a tough one because I can hear all of the uproar around his situation. He's only played over 20 league games once since he's joined PSG. But when I looked at his stats earlier, it's like one of the best stats you would see for any forward player. Even last season when he missed half of the season, he still got 18 goals, 17 assists. He's got 195 goal contributions in 173 appearances for PSG, which is actually not really good for someone that has been there for so long. But he's a top goal scorer for Brazil as well. Scored countless goals in the Champions League and assists as well. And the one time he was able to have a full season fit, they got to the Champions League final. And yes, he's 31 years old, but he's still got a lot to offer. But I am interested to see what he wants for himself, because I know Barcelona is like the ideal situation, but we know their financial situation. They're not going to be able to afford him. If he comes to the Premier League, will he be able to hack the demands in the Premier League? It's up in the air.
Jonathan there talked about potential return to Brazil. He also mentioned Saudi. I think when this story came about, a lot of people, maybe their first thought was Neymar's heading to Saudi.
Yeah,
just with what's happened this summer.
Yeah, looking at them going in for Mbappe as heavily as they did, if they can't get him to pull in another superstar like Neymar from PSG, would probably be the preferred option. Obviously, it would be able to be a permanent deal as well. He's a player that struggled with injuries over the last few years, got some problems with his ankles at the moment as well. So Saudi seems to me that the logical next step for him. I wouldn't see a Premier League move coming in for him. I know he's been linked with the Premier League in the past. Chelsea would perhaps be the only team that you could possibly think of that might make a play for him, but I kind of feel like that ship sailed a little bit. I know, obviously, Sam, you'd like that very much because he's one of your favourite players, but Saudi just feels like the kind of opportunity that I think the player might. Obviously, I don't know Neymar, so I'm speaking without the knowledge of what he wants, but you kind of feel like that move would make sense, the financial offerings that there'd be. The Mbappe side of things doesn't look like it's happening now. I think he'd probably end up there.
Right, there is so much more to talk about with PSG. We'll do that a little bit later because we've got a couple of bits of breaking news to bring you now. First, coming out of West Ham, Edson Alvarez will arrive in London this morning ahead of starting his West Ham medical. West Ham hopeful of getting everything done so he can actually train with his new teammates, well, ahead of Saturday's Premier League opener at Bournemouth. The deal will see West Ham pay Ajax an initial £32 million plus £2 million in performance-related add-ons, and the personal terms have been agreed. So an update for West Ham fans who are hopefully feeling positive that they're edging closer to a first transfer of the summer. Edson Alvarez will arrive in London this morning ahead of starting his West Ham medical. We've also got some news coming out of Manchester City as well, and Bernardo Silva is considering signing a new contract with the Premier League champion. City would like him to do so. He's got less than 2 years remaining on his current deal. There's been so much speculation around his future. City had previously said they wouldn't stand in his way if he did want to leave. Of course, Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona have been interested in signing him this summer. I mean, what is your reaction to that? Because there has been, well, we've seen Gundogan leave, we've seen Mahrez leave. There's been a lot of talk about Bernardo Silva potentially leaving this. I mean, certainly positive news if you're a Manchester City fan.
I think so, because it felt at one point that this treble-winning side was going to be broken up, and Kyle Walker's future is still up in the air, even though he captained the side in the Community Shield final on Sunday. But he's only 28 years of age. It feels like his future's been discussed. In the last transfer window, I think there's a feeling that he may want to move closer to home. But you look at the asset he is there. He's an incredible player. He's been such a key part of what Man City have done over the last few years. And it felt pretty sad that it looked like he was on his way out. But if Man City can convince him and he actually does want to stay, let's give a huge boost to them, because I think there is perhaps a feeling that this side is maybe slightly weaker than it was last season. Yes, they just signed Gvardiol. They may look to strengthen a bit further. Kovacic coming in for Gundogan. But it does feel like the side isn't quite where it was last year. But if they can tie down Walker and they can tie down Bernardo Silva, then things look slightly more settled. I'm sure Pep has a few plans up his sleeve. I think he knows what he's doing. I think we can credit him with that. But I think this would be big news for Man City. If they were to keep him, and he's happy to stay.
Intelligent footballer, such a tactically flexible player as well. It's no coincidence that every summer he's linked with some really big teams abroad. Bernardo Silva would be a really important player for Man City to keep.
Yeah, it seems to be a morning of breaking news, because we've got some breaking news from Tottenham as well. And Mickey van der Veen has completed his Spurs medical and will formally sign his contract today. A formal announcement on his move from Wolfsburg is actually expected this afternoon. I just want to stick with Spurs for a moment, because we said we were going to chat Harry Kane as well. Negotiations between Bayern Munich and Tottenham ongoing. That is despite the latest and final offer for Harry Kane being rejected. Just a bit of breaking news reaching us from our chief reporter as well, Parve Solokal. Harry Kane has not travelled to Barcelona. We're told it's absolutely nothing to do with a potential transfer, by the way. Most players involved in Sunday's game haven't travelled. We understand that Kane is enjoying life under Ange Postecoglou at the moment, and it's looking more likely that he will stay at the club. That is the sort of latest from Carve today about him not travelling. Obviously, a lot of news came out yesterday. Just sort of bring us up to date with where we're at sort of following the weekend.
Well, yesterday we understand that Spurs rejected what was Bayern Munich's third and final offer for Harry Kane, but we understand negotiations are still ongoing and Bayern could come back in with another bid. So neither side have completely walked away from negotiations at the moment. But I think Daniel Levy has been unhappy with the way Bayern Munich have given Spurs an ultimatum and the tactics they've used to try and force this deal over the line last week, giving those deadlines. But Spurs are keeping this dialogue open, because there is still a very real risk that Harry Kane could leave for free next summer. He could join a Premier League rival for free next summer. I think Kane wants his future sorted out this week, both from a Spurs point of view, respect to Spurs, but because of family reasons as well. He's expecting another child. So he wants it sorted out this week. Their first game is against Brentford on Sunday, live on Sky Sports. Can't wait to see how Spurs cope with life in the Premier League under Ange Postecoglou. It's going to be so much fun to watch. And he's focused on staying at Spurs until something potentially changes. He's not ruling out staying at Spurs this season. I don't think he'll be signing a contract this summer, but he's committed to staying at Spurs if that is where his destiny lies. I think it's very different from 2 years ago, where he really wanted that move to Manchester City. But it's business as usual for him, and as Carve's telling us there, he's enjoying life under Ange Postecoglou, a fresh start, and it's more likely than not, I think, that he will be staying at Spurs this summer at least. I think Spurs have done well to make sure he doesn't join a Premier League rival this summer. It doesn't look like he'll either be staying at Spurs or potentially moving to Europe, but I think as the days tick by, the way things are moving, it does look like he's going to be starting that first game against Brentford on Sunday.
That's the thing, it's not long to go now, is it? is there? It's a big few days.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Kane is probably one of the most unproblematic players that we've seen in history in terms of the quality that he has and the fact that he's made his ambition quite clear. Before Haaland went to Manchester City, he made it clear that he wanted to, move on and challenge for trophies. But obviously he loves Spurs and he loves the fans and he wants to compete for trophies. He wants to win their first trophy in years. But at the same time, because of the quality he has, no one can really get onto him for not being able to, challenge for these trophies and put that next to the goals that he scores. So I think it's better for Spurs to deal with this quicker than letting it drag out, because like we said, Postecoglou coming into a new league with a whole new system is going to be completely different if Kane is not in that team, and it's better to deal with that now.
At least some Spurs fans have something to be positive about today, with Van der Ven, well, hopefully being announced later this afternoon.
Yeah, being compared to Virgil van Dijk, had good numbers in the Bundesliga last season. As a modern-day centre-back, I think he probably has everything that Spurs would want and fits in with the more expansive style of football that Postecoglou wants to play. So he's the right age as well, and I do feel that at the moment at Spurs, that even though they've got all this stuff going on with Kane, I think there is a little bit of feel-good still there. I do think Postecoglou's brought a different shift in mentality across from what's been there at Spurs under the previous regime. So I just think if they can get to day one with Harry Kane there, get a couple of new signings in, you can see that there's a rebuild going on. I've always thought if Kane's there at the start of the season, day one, he will be a Spurs player for the rest of the season, and I think they'll be banking on the fact that Postecoglou can bring this feel good and show they're going in the right direction, get a couple more signings in of the ilk of Van der Ven. Then Kane could be persuaded maybe to sign a contract as the season goes on.
Yeah, well, it's been a morning of breaking news so far. So a reminder of that news from Tottenham then. Mickey Van der Ven has completed his Spurs medical and will formally sign his contract today. Formal announcement on that move coming, well, hopefully a little bit later on this afternoon. Bernardo Silva is considering signing a new contract with Manchester City. There is news coming out of West Ham as well, because Edson Alvarez will arrive in London this morning ahead of starting his West Ham medical. We're going to talk much more about West Ham next, because they're trying to sign, well, not just Edson Alvarez, they're trying to sign a whole load of players, yet to sign anybody, of course. But will they get anyone in before their first game of the season? Of course, they're hoping for Alvarez, but will it remain that way? We're going to see you in a few minutes' time.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
Did you feed Spot?
Now you can stay connected on your smartwatch, even without your phone.
Looks like Johnny's safe.
Some connections you can always rely on.
You see my phone?
This is one number, only with Vodafone.
If you ask me, they need a good half-time talking to.
And maybe a couple of Weetabix. Win your official shirt with Weetabix.
Who says wellness means acting our own age? And we shouldn't do pizza before Pilates. We say get active without the activewear. And live like nobody's watching. Whatever you do, Centrum has a range of tailored multivitamins to suit your unique and essential nutritional needs. Centrum. Do wellness your way.
Well, Mum, I told you I'd sort you on.
A very sure alarm?
Yeah, just in case, 24/7 monitoring, peace of mind. For me, as much as for her. You should get one, Linda.
Definitely.
Very Sure alarms are $19.90 per month. Plus, get 50% off on a free video doorbell and free security camera install. Call now. Visit verysure.ie.
Oh, baby, baby, feed me. Baby, feed me. Oh, feed me. Oh, baby, baby.
Sheba. Resistance is futile.
Enjoy a My Waddy breakfast time, party time, or dinner time. My Waddy is your juicy delight, morning, noon, or night. Any time is My Waddy time.
Pringles, a taste you can't let go.
It's not bad going, is it?
There are moments in business that shape everything to come.
Hands, face, boys!
Looks like a factory back here.
Our dedicated business teams will always be here to support you.
It's not bad going, is it?
Make a lot of money doing that.
Because the best businesses never stop beginning. Bank of Ireland, begin.
I've never seen such a horrific crime.
This is a robbery. Put your hands up!
Move in.
Cover me.
FBI! Hands up!
You ready for this?
Move, move, move!
Take a look at this.
You're going to have to see it to believe it.
Want to bring this heinous attacker to justice. Nothing will ever be more important than the case we're about to receive.
An unmissable FBI lineup on Sky Witness.
Roll up, roll up! The greatest show on earth is back in town, and there's something for everyone. We've got amazing magicians, extraordinary escape artists, gravity-defying acrobats. It defies description. Audacious jugglers. Oh, it's fabulous. And even...
An absolute freak.
Hollows! There's something for everyone in the greatest show on earth. The wait is nearly over. The one and only Premier League is back, live on Sky Sports.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. A little reminder for you of the breaking news we've already brought you this hour. Harry Kane has not travelled to Barcelona for Tottenham's pre-season game tonight. We're told it is nothing to do with a potential transfer. Sticking with Spurs, though, Mickey van der Veen has completed his medical and will formally sign his contract today. That is a deal rising to a potential £43 million from Wolfsburg. And also, Bernardo Silva is considering signing a new contract with Manchester City. There is absolutely loads going on at the moment because West Ham as well. We told you also this hour, of course, they're yet to make a signing this transfer window, but Edson Alvarez will arrive in London this morning ahead of starting his medical in East London. The deal will see West Ham pay Ajax an initial £32 million plus £2 million in performance-related add-ons. James, I mentioned it there, West Ham yet to sign a player. Finally, West Ham fans, just days out from their first game, have something to be happy about.
I think they've got a really good signing, 32 million with £2 million in performance-related add-ons. They're hopeful that he can train this week so he can feature this weekend against Bournemouth. I think it gives West Ham a bit of a lift. They had a really difficult summer so far. Declan Rice leaving, took so long to replace him, lost 4-0 at the weekend